Hello, everyone, and welcome to our September episode of the DOS Way. And I tell you, it is a special one. I'm your host, Lieutenant Governor Tahesha Way, and today I'm wearing my Secretary of State hat. And just moments ago, I mentioned how special it is because it is election season. And what we are going to discuss today is the important education and information that as a voter you need. And I have three rock stars in the democracy space with me. First, I have my dear colleague, Donna Barber, who is the executive director of the Division of Elections. I have Beth Thompson, who is the administrator, Hunterdon County Board of Elections. I also have Shona Mack, Esquire, Passaic County Superintendent of Elections / Commissioner of Registration. You do it all, don't you, Shona Mack?
Try.
And the one thing I do want to note is you are the former president of the New Jersey Association of Election Officials. And what makes this day even more special, or equally special, I should say, is that the current president is also with us. Now, I know I had said three special guests, but you know what? That's my error because we have a fourth who is gracing us. Normally, my audience knows we have the three guests, but we do have our Camden County Deputy Clerk, John Schmidt. Thank you all for joining. So before we start this important conversation, I know that as the state's chief election officer, I work in partnership with my Division of Elections. And at times when I'm out and about, in the community, I often get asked, what does it mean to be the chief election official? But also another question, especially our students ask, is once I tell them that I oversee the Division of Elections, then I mention that I have a phenomenal director of elections, and her name is Donna Barber. And then they ask, okay, so what does this Division of Elections do? So I start with that question. And Donna, if you don't mind, just educating the public as to the role and responsibilities of your division.
Thank you for having me, Lieutenant Governor. So the Division of Elections oversees the election process for the state of New Jersey. We ensure compliance with state and federal laws. We accept nominating petitions for state and federal candidates. We certify voting equipment and some security measures as well. One big important role is working with our county election officials to ensure ADA compliance with our polling places. We train our county election officials. We provide guidance documents when necessary. We oversee and help the counties when new legislation is implemented, and we make sure that they can carry out their function. And I think most importantly, our mission is to educate the 6.6 million voters of this great state so that they can be educated and informed voters.
Yeah, great work that you do. How many staff members do you have in the Division of Elections? Because I think that perception out there is that there's hundreds of workers in your division. Let the audience know.
12 full-time staff members in the Division of Elections.
Including yourself.
Including myself, yes.
I know. And the Herculean work that you do, all 12 of you, right, is astounding, I have to say. Now, one of the responsibilities that you mentioned, and I would want you to somewhat elaborate upon the certification of our voting equipment. Can you just briefly give like a summary of what this is? Because I know yourself and also everyone who is here today, election official wise, take it to heart, right, that our voting infrastructure, right, is safe and secure. I applaud all of you in ensuring, in partnership with my Division of Elections, that the voters can have confidence in this infrastructure. So can you just describe the certification process,
Yes,
please?
Absolutely. So in the voting equipment, when you go to vote on election day, that voting equipment that you're utilizing gets certified by the Secretary of State. And what that means is the Secretary of State, by statute, has she has a software and a mechanical expert and a patent attorney that review this equipment. But we don't even review it until it goes through federal certification as well.
Correct.
It goes through a rigorous federal certification, and then it goes through our own certification. Then we receive a report from our members, of which the Secretary of State reviews thoroughly. The Division of Elections do as well. And it's not until that voting equipment is certified by the federal government, the state government, that the counties can purchase that equipment. So it goes through a very rigorous examination.
Well, thank you for that. And also, one thing I think that needs to, get out there in the universe, because since 2018, right, I remember when I first came, there was only 2 ways, right, to vote. So can you now speak about the different ways? Because we've been working 24/7, 365 days in the year, ensuring that these ways of voting are too safe and secure.
Yes. So initially, our 2 ways to vote was voting by mail and in person only on election day.
Yes.
And now we have 9 days of early voting coming up. I can't say enough good things about early voting. It is so convenient and allows voters to vote when it's most convenient for them. And they're going to vote on voting machines. They're going to vote on voting equipment. There'll be less lines if you go that route. Early voting for the general election begins on October 25th and ends on November 2nd. And Monday through Saturday, it's 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And on Sundays, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I can encourage voters to do that. That is a great opportunity to vote early ahead of the election.
Exactly. I was just speaking with another colleague about my plans to vote this November. And I was just mentioning I always early vote now, because for us, everyone at this table knows it starts at 5 a.m. in the morning on election day. So, and does not end until whenever it ends that same day. Yes. So for me, I appreciate the opportunity to go to my neighborhood library, where an early voting site has been propped up, right? Superintendent Shona, Mack. Thank you for, all you do in ensuring that voting location. And, take our daughter, if she's with us, to the library. And you can do different things at these different locations. It's a seamless, in my humble opinion, I've been doing this since 2021, it's a seamless way of voting.
You could go to any location in your county as well, which makes it even more convenient.
And what website would one go to?
Vote.nj.gov will give you a listing of your early voting sites by county.
Yeah. And, Donna, again, thank you for all you've done. I'm not going to age you, but the audience would probably want to know that Donna has served in the Division of Elections for 40 years. You are a walking encyclopedia on all things elections, and we have been so blessed to have you aboard. So thank you for that. Now, I'm going to turn first to our county clerk, our deputy county clerk. And, when I've gone around and speaking to individuals about the roles of the county clerks, superintendent / commissioner of registrations, board of elections, sometimes the roles and responsibilities can get conflated. And especially because, with elections, if you know one state, you know one state. And at times, X state may have the different roles and responsibilities under their board of elections, but it may be different from, let's say, in New Jersey. So, John, can you speak more about your office for the audience?
Well, the county clerk's office in each of the counties is responsible for the nominating petitions so people can get onto the ballots from the county level and down. And also we are responsible for creating the ballots, printing the ballots, and distributing the vote by mail ballots. And then at the end, we serve as the secretary of the board of canvassers to certify them at the election at the end of the election process.
Okay, and mail-in ballots have already started.
Voting has already started. Each of the counties had by this past Saturday, the 20th, to have the initial round of vote by mail ballots in the mail. Obviously, people can still apply, and as our applications come in and get processed, we will continue to send ballots out. We can take that up until 3:00 the day before the election.
On November 3rd in this instance, right?
Correct.
Okay. Donna and her team get asked this question. I think others get asked this question too. Myself, a voter, right, John, realizes that they've made a major error on their vote by mail ballot. What's the plan of corrective action for them?
Depends on what the error is and where they are in the process. If they still have their ballot, they can easily get a replacement ballot from the county clerk's office. They would just have to reach out to the county clerk's office. Many of the county clerk's offices have forms that you can return to get a replacement ballot. However, once the ballot has been mailed and has been processed by the Board of Elections, it's the equivalent of going to the voting machine and hitting the vote button and walking out and then trying to go back. You can't get back in the machine at that point.
Okay, everyone hears that. And that is why with voting by mail, we always say to the voters, right, to please vote, sign, seal, return. But even before you return, to verify, right, all of your voting. Now, here's the other question. This is the quiz. Let's say a voter has always received a VBM. Can they still go to an early voting site or a polling place on election day?
Absolutely. They can vote at their polling place or at an early voting site. However, they will not be allowed to use the voting machine. They will have to vote a provisional ballot. All provisional ballots are verified whether or not the vote by mail ballot had already been returned. That way, they have not been returned. They will be counted by the Board of Elections. Okay.
Anything you want to add? I know I haven't gotten to you yet, Shona. Oh, Madam Superintendent.
Shona's fine. Thank you.
We go way back.
Yes. No, Deputy Clerk Schmidt is correct. We do, once the provisional ballot is returned, we are able to research that ballot after we receive all of the ballots into the office and determine if that voter is otherwise eligible to vote. We would get the information to the Board of County Commissioners, and they will canvass the ballot and determine whether or not that vote should be counted.
Okay, turning back to you,
Deputy boy.
County Clerk Schmidt. Can you just also provide the audience information about the sample ballots? When do they normally, arrive, and, what significance do they have?
Sample ballot is an identical version of the ballot that would be voted on election day. It may not look exactly like the vote by mail ballot, but it will be what they would be at early voting or on election day itself.
Okay.
They're sent out on, I believe it's October 22nd this year. It's the Wednesday before early voting starts is when it has to be at the post office. However, most of the county offices that I'm aware of try to get it out as quickly as possible. It is sent to every registered voter, so we do have to wait until the voter registration deadline to get the final list to send them out. So we couldn't send them out right now, even though we could compose it right now and send it out. We do have to wait for the voter registration to complete.
Okay, and deadline for voter registration, everybody?
October 14th.
That's right. October 14th, audience. Now, information about your county clerk's office, I know we can find at vote.nj.gov, but also the specific Camden County.
Specific Camden County
website address?
Is camdencounty.com/clerk.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Thank you so much, Deputy County Clerk Schmidt. I'm going to now turn my attention to Madam Superintendent of Elections of the great county of Passaic. What's the single best resource you recommend for someone looking to register or to check their voter status? How do they go about doing this?
Well, vote.nj.gov is actually one of the best right now because it gives you direct access to the information that we use, which is the SVRS. You can also contact your Commissioner of Registration's office, ask them if you're registered and have them send you a voter acknowledgement card if you are. But if you're not, you have until October 14th, as Deputy County Clerk Schmidt indicated. Everyone should contact or go to the state website, vote.nj.gov, to confirm if you are at least 18 or turning 18 by November 4th.
Okay.
You can register by mail or drop off your registration application at your county commissioner's office, or you can, of course, register to vote online.
I should ask this from the top. What are your responsibilities as Superintendent of Elections / Commissioner of Registration?
So as Superintendent of Elections and Commissioner of Registration in Passaic County, I am in charge of voter registration, list maintenance. So we handle all of the party affiliation changes, updates to anyone's records, residence address changes. I'm also the custodian of voting equipment, which includes our voting machines and electronic poll books, supplies for elections. We also are responsible for receiving provisional ballots at the end of the elections and verifying the information and researching those ballots and making sure that they're correct so that that information can be provided to the Board of Elections and canvassing them for the commissioners who make the final decision as to whether or not those votes can be counted at the end of the election period.
I know. So we're starting with the start and we'll wind up with the finish with Beth, but I also oftentimes get asked that from a voter, right, that I have become inactive. What does that mean, Superintendent? And can you just walk us through how that happens and what are the consequences of being inactive? So
a lot of times voters receive election mail from our office. It could be the sample ballot. And I know people may not look at their election mail pretty often, but if any election mail is returned to our office as undeliverable or indicates that the voter may have moved out of the county, that voter is put into an inactive voter status. They've sent a confirmation notice informing them that they may have until the second federal election after the date of that notice to update their voting record or appear to vote and complete the necessary forms or they will be removed from the voting rolls. Voters can reach out to the county commissioner, which we do send them the inactive confirmation notice to update their voter registration status and update their address in our statewide voter registration system.
Yeah. You know, the one thing that is important for our listeners is the connection that they should have with their local election officials. Like if you have a question, I made an error on my VBM, what do I do? Where's my polling location, just for accuracy? Or, you know, in this circumstance, when you do receive mail, right, from your local election officials, just please be responsive to that because, you know, they have to do their verification processes to ensure that there is accuracy all around. And my final question, at least right now, that I have for you is, again, a voter who comes to a polling location and then they learn they are not in the poll book, does that mean that they can or cannot vote?
No. Our motto is no voter turned away, right? And you'll see that at every polling location. And I just want to add to with the inactive confirmation or inactive voter.
Sure.
It usually happens when someone's parent, for example, if you have a college student has moved away, their parent will continue to receive their mail, even if that voter has moved out of the residence, and they won't forward or return the mail to our office. That's usually when they're placed on inactive confirmation. That's usually the most frequent times. But you're issued a provisional ballot when you come to the polling location and they can't find you in our electronic poll book. But you should never be turned away when you enter a polling location and they can't find you. For example, if the voter has moved within a municipality, but you're currently residing in an election district that's listed differently from where the voter is listed by the Commissioner of Registration, for example, or if the voter's registration information is missing, or as Mr. Schmidt indicated before, you've applied for a mail-in ballot, we'll have you automatically listed as someone who should be receiving a provisional ballot, whether or not you returned it or not.
Thank you for that. And what's also important about mail-in ballots now moving forward, you get to check whether or not you want to vote by mail that election, right? Or if you want to be a forever vote by mailer, right? So, Board of Elections.
Yes.
Madam President, as I'll call you. Beth, could you just let us know, how can someone be a poll worker? We get asked this all the time. I know we have the pollworker.nja.gov site, but of course, it's all things are local, right? So can you just walk us through this?
So you're going to have to submit an application, which is going to be verified. It's a simple application. You have to be a registered voter, or if you are a student, we will hire you as a student poll worker. So we're always encouraging high school students who want to participate in democracy. We want you. You guys are the forefront of technology. You know how to do things better than most of us. We're aging out our poll workers right now. So all of the youth that we can get to volunteer to come in, and it's really not, we call it a volunteer, but you're paid. We give you a $300 paycheck if you're there for the full day, $150 for a half day, or we'll pay you by hourly. And it's really important for our youth to really become involved, because you're the future of our democracy. We can't do it without poll workers. So once we get the application, then we're going to ask you to attend a training class. And the training class has to be in person first. And then the law says you have to be recertified after 2 years. And some counties are now in the process of developing online courses. So your recertification could be taken in the conveniency of your own home. But you do have to attend an in-person class first. And then there's no testing. There's no, there's no right or wrong for, you to fill out a quiz. We just ask that you participate. You listen. We never throw you in a place where you're brand new all by yourself. You're going to be working with seasoned poll workers always. But we really, some counties struggle more than others. Some people step up and some people just don't. But I can tell you that every county in the state is always going to be looking for poll workers. And we really can't emphasize enough how much that, if you question the process, become a part of it. And that really will make a huge difference to everyone.
Yeah, that's so important. You get to see democracy at work, right? One of the greatest civic duties that all of us who are eligible can do. And I also forgot to ask you, Board of Elections work. What exactly are your roles and responsibilities?
So a board office is going to, again, we're going to help pick and certify, along with the cooperation of your municipal clerk, all your polling locations. We're going to make sure that they are accessible for anyone who's got any kind of accessibility issues. They're going to be certified. We have actual committees that are part of that, where we pull people from all different groups so that we go out, we inspect, we make sure that whether you have mobility issues, site issues, any kind of issue, that you've got accessibility if you want to go vote in person. That's really important. We also are the repository for all of your vote by mail ballots. So we are now accepting, as you get them in the mail, you vote them, they come to the Board of Elections. So it's our responsibility to process those ballots, keep them safe and secure, verify your signatures, do all of that fun stuff. We, again, train the poll workers. We make sure that all the equipment is tested. We've got a lot of restrictions and requirements to make sure that before that equipment gets delivered, that it goes through a full certification process on our end, so that there are no questions, so that when you go to vote on Election Day, you know that we've done everything in our power to make sure that when you push that button and it prints out for the candidate of your choice, that your vote is 100% going to count.
Love that. And speaking of vote by mails, and you mentioned you can drop them off, right? You can walk directly, if I'm correct, to a Board of Elections and personally drop off your vote by mail, in addition to the mail and I want to say we have 400 secure ballot drop boxes, right? But my question is, by law, how many ballots can a person drop off?
So it depends on who you are. If you're going to bring in for an immediate family member, you can return 5 voted ballots. There are some requirements. You are going to have to fill out what we call the bearer portion, which is clearly labeled on the front of what we call the transport envelope of your vote by mail ballot packet. And we do say it's a packet. The clerks really do a great job of putting together instructions and all of the pieces of that puzzle that have to be put back together to return to us in order to get your ballot counted. If you are not it's not your immediate household, then you can only transport up to 3 non-household ballots. We actually do track them statewide. So with every bearer that comes in, we record that information. So we will know statewide whether or not you've returned 3 in Hunterdon, 3 in Passaic, 3 in Camden. And it really is important that you follow these rules because it's first in, last one in. If you've exceeded the bearer limit, you risk the chance of disfranchising that voter. So it's really important that you read the instructions and that you pay attention to whose ballot you're transporting.
That is, I thank you for that information because, again, everyone wants to be able to complete their vote by mails, but we also want to assure, all of our listeners, right, that the vote by mail process is, the votes are being securely counted and verified, the entirety of the administration of it. And if you could, Beth, just give us your website information.
Sure. So the best resource, again, is the vote.nj.gov. And that's going to give you every single county board, every single county superintendent, where you can find all of your Dropbox locations. You can find where the physical addresses are. This is going to be the most comprehensive place for you to find all the information related to elections in New Jersey that you could ever want.
Yeah.
It's really a one-stop shop for no matter what your question is. And, when we talk about the security, I vote by mail every election. I've done it for, 18 years.
Yes.
And I do think it's really important for people to understand that it is one of the most safe and secure ways that you can have your ballot count. We just want to make sure that you follow the rules. So we try to explain to people, why do I have to sign a certificate? Why do I have to put my signature on it? How come I feel like my ballot, you're going to know how I voted? Yeah. And so we want people to understand that the same way that you sign in a poll book at the polling location is what we ask you to do on the certificate. It's a privacy envelope. We do remove that certificate before your ballot's opened, so your ballot is completely anonymous. We want people to understand it's a safe and anonymous way, but we do have to have validation that you voted your ballot. And if you forget to sign or your signature doesn't match, we're going to issue your cure letter, and you have until 11 days after the election is over to supply that cure to us in order to count your ballot.
And again, not to repeat it, that's why I stated earlier that when listeners receive the information from their local election officials, to please be responsive. Don't put it to the side. 11 days may sound like a long time, but it can go quickly.
Yeah.
So you just want to be timely with that. And on a local level, your website is, thank you for propping up vote.nj.gov. I know my team and I, we worked very hard to have that one-stop shop, all things elections portal in partnership with our local election officials, but we just wanted to make it a seamless experience. Even you can register to vote. OVR is up there too. So locally, Hunterdon.
co.hunterdon.nj.us is our standard, and you'll click on elections. We have every form possible. We provide you with a pretty seamless transition, all the information that you need, give you as much information as possible. We create maps for you to find by putting in your address. Put your address in, and you can find your polling location. And please use your sample ballot. I mean, we've talked about sample ballot. It's one of the most comprehensive pieces of election information that you could ever receive. It's got your ballot box location, your polling location stated on it, the hours of the election. It's not just about what it looks like when you go into the booth, but it's really an important piece of information.
But just let the reader know, right? Confirm the sample ballot does it speak to early voting?
Yes.
It does.
Yes, absolutely it does.
Okay.
Early
Yeah.
voting locations and times
Exactly.
as well.
Just because I think that, some voters have mentioned to me, oh, I didn't receive a sample ballot for the in-person election day period. And I would say to them, I believe you have. It is the ultimate.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's the ultimate sample ballot. That's how I capture it.
Yeah.
So just making sure that there's confirmation out there to the listeners. Now, Superintendent Shona, Matt, can you advise of the Passaic County website location for you?
It's PassaiCountyVotes.org.
Okay. And you want to repeat Camden's for us?
We are CamdenCounty.com/clerk or CamdenCounty.com/BOE for the two elections offices.
Okay, I love it. And again, the state is vote.nj.gov. I thank each and every one of you for being here. I know that this is a busy time, and I'm just asking our listeners out there to check your voter registration. You can do it online. Deadline for that is October 14th. You never know. And of course, please make a plan to vote in this election and every single election that comes thereafter. Thank you so much, all, and I'll see you next month.